my understanding that the septum piercing is similar to that of a cow or bull who's had its nose pierced so that it may be led around with a chain, by its master. And you'll notice on my nose particularly, there is no chain. And you could think of this piercing as symbolic of having once been enslaved, And I would think of that as being enslaved to something evil, like not being free, being enslaved. But what is free? In America, in the United States, and I suppose Canada as well, they got a little thing called freedom. And they really like to give this freedom to other countries too, especially ones that have laws against such freedoms. And I think the reason is, a lot of time these freedoms are things which are prisons in of themselves. Whether that be drug and alcohol abuse, whether that be like sexual indulgence. I think that these things, if you are tied to them, like an addict is tied to their substance, then you cannot be free. And the struggles are more than flesh and blood. They're more than bodies and borders. The struggles are internal. The struggles are spiritual. The struggles are one version of the fractured self against the other, And so to truly feel free, we act. And one can say that we feel so alive when we're acting in a state of extremely high novelty. It's not to say that we don't feel alive as we go through somewhat of a painful, monotonous existence. We're definitely still living. We're definitely still here for it. But when people say, I feel so alive, it's as if they're talking about the antithesis to boredom. True excitement, true novelty. And you could even think the habitual life is the antithesis to the novel life. And it seems as though following the path of least resistance in one's life requires the least amount of will. And I would really like to begin quantifying what this will energy is, but it's simply something that's beyond my ability to measure. But I know it when I feel it. And this is the type of thing that's required. Will, mana, vril, whatever you want to call it. This is the type of energy that's required to break free of the status quo. And there are many ancient esoteric methods, whatever, to conserve one's will, or to build up one's will, build up one's capacity to retain will. Most of it just involves retention of the reproductive bodily fluids, circulating of energy throughout the body, which is essentially awareness, consciousness exercises, resting of the self within consciousness. That is to say that that is to imply that there's a greater consciousness atop the self, one that you can witness the self resting with. And essentially all of these energetic exercises, even something like Tai Chi, yoga, working out even, is all of these things are measures to increase one's capacity for energy. And you can think like one's capacity for energy. Now we're talking energy, we're talking will, we're talking prana. Like energy is consciousness. And just like that David Lynch video, it's like if you wake up one morning with an expanded consciousness or with a lot of energy, you'll reap more from the world. Like you'll be able to look at a book and see it as something that's much more detailed, much more in-depth, much more I don't know, I guess you can see multiple layers of it, like fractal layers to this book, whereas somebody with a reduced or tired consciousnness, somebody that doesn't have the capacity to retain like high amounts of will energy, will look at that same book and they'll be like, oh, like I don't really get it, or I don't have the attention, or this is just kind of like surface level. Just like that old William Blake poem, which I can't really recite or anything like that, but sees like intense divinity in every creation of nature, whereas somebody with reduced consciousness, with low capacity for will or prana, will look at these stimuli such as like a wildflower and it will appear banal. And it's interesting, the connection between the world of, I don't know if it's banal or banal. I've been saying banal because I'm way more comfortable with that. But this connection between the world of the banal, the world of the habitual, the world of the monotonous, the world of boredom. And I do believe that truly like what it has to do with is our ability to retain high amounts of will energy, and nobody wants to wake up in the morning and feel worse than they did the day before. The reasons that we do this are like subconscious, psychological, because we think that like, oh, we need to feel better now, or oh, this could be more fun, or it's being trapped. This is why we talk about like drug use and drinking as infringements on our freedoms, things which keep us spiritually bound, things which like prevent us from like reaching the true self. And it's fun to joke and whatnot, but really has become a very understated problem. Like we live in a society where these things are condoned now in a lot of ways. Whether that be, sexual indulgence, pornography, etc., or, mild drug use, whether, intoxicants like alcohol, cannabis, other things that are like going through the process of becoming legal. And as like sacramental and spiritual as these things can be, they can also be like very deterrent. Like they can be a detriment to the mind and its ability to connect with God. And I think the other thing is the people who are quitting, like the people who are going through the process of transformation, they want to use like this final barrier, oh, I'm like addicted to so and so, or like, oh, I have such and such issue, and this, when I finally fix this, it'll be the last thing that has to go, before I can finally fix my life. Don't self-sabotage like that. Don't wait. Act now. Stop thinking. You know that there's good shit to do in this world for yourself. Anyways, Wander and Wonder. Signing off.